The Everything Sequel podcast is brought to you by 2T Fitness and the Vegas Beer Guys.
The Everything Sequel podcast contains explicit language. You have been forewarned.
It's in cinemas. This October, we've foregone our monthly meeting and partnered with the Everything Sequel podcast for a special crossover episode, which we're calling No Time to Digest, where we talk about No Time to Die as both a sequel and an adaptation. I'm Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, and joining me from a disputed island somewhere between Japan and Russia, or Pacific Beach, California, is my co-pilot on this weird CGI biplane, Michael Shantz from the How Dare You Awards. Come on, Shantz, where are you?
Hello!
Hello, Shantz, I've missed you!
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hello and welcome to everyone joining us for this special crossover extravaganza spectacular.
Don't hype it up too much.
I'm just thrilled to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've got a kind of airline pilot quality about you.
Oh.
I don't know if that's a specific reference to the...
I'm in the closet, as it were.
In the closet. Well, I normally have a cocktail from the book we're reading. The best I can do today is apple slices and Heineken. First of all, I should say, if you haven't seen the movie, we're going to be dropping some major spoilers. So, abort and then rejoin us when you have seen the movie.
Please.
As always, I'm here in the Teresa de Vincenzo Memorial Library.
Of course.
All stories about a man called Bond, James Bond, come with a complimentary audio cassette of Louis Armstrong's We Have All the Time in the World. And we're calling this episode No Time to Digest because these are our raw, unfiltered reactions to the film. I've seen the movie once. I haven't read any reviews. I talked to nobody about it yet. Mike, I believe you saw the movie last night.
I did.
And I have a general impression of what the consensus is about the movie. It's been generally well received. I think that's fair to say. But I know no more than that what people think about the movie on a micro level. But as No Time to Digest is also an appropriate title, I think, because I can say with some certainty, this is the most bloated Bond film of all time. And I don't mean that in a pejorative sense.
I know.
I mean that
I can tell.
Just descriptively, everything in this movie takes a bit longer than you expect it to, than it needs to.
All right.
Okay.
Here's my hot take.
Oh, excellent. We're going in hot, people.
You're not wrong.
Mm.
But my response is, I don't care. This James Bond film felt like the David Lean version of a James Bond film.
Which ironically is not lean at all.
Right, exactly. I mean, it felt like an opus. It felt like an epic conclusion to one man's Bond.
Not One Man Bond, my solo show.
I put it on the tee for you.
You did indeed. And I'll just say, that's done in an hour. So if you did think this movie was too long, this might be the better option for you. Okay, so I was hoping, because I thought we'd disagree about a bunch of different things, but I wanted to try and get some consensus up front about the length of the movie, but it seems like that might not be possible. I mean, would you agree that this film is simply too long for what it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't care.
But you don't care. That's fine. And I probably care more than you, but it's not a deal breaker for me.
And honestly, within the movie itself, the only, like, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that every scene could have been a little bit shorter. But the only time, literally, that I felt that and was giving it conscious thought was in the forest.
Right. Yeah.
When Madeline's kidnapped.
The whole there was that scene shouldn't be there, or that scene was too long.
Too long.
Okay.
It's like, okay, she has to be kidnapped, but we could have done that back at the house. You know, it was just it was there to give us one more set piece of driving for a movie that already had a set piece of driving. So
a lot of driving. Yeah. Crystal Skull amounts of driving, I'd say. Again, not pejorative.
Right.
Just descriptive. That's gonna be my fallback position on everything here, because let's talk gut reactions. Because when you've seen the movie as recently as we both have, and we've only seen it once, I think that's a really good place to start. Give me gut reactions. Words, phrases that sum up how you felt.
My gut reaction, one.
Yes.
If I'm gonna write a slug line to my review of this movie, it would be "No Time to Die, worth the wait."
Wow. Well, there you go. There's your Heineken. Heineken did an ad with Daniel Craig that very much used that slug line. Did you know that?
Is that right?
Yes.
No.
It's him in a bar waiting for the head on his Heineken to settle. And then he drinks it, and then it says, Heineken worth the wait. Obviously a reference to the fact that this movie has taken 2 years longer to come out than...
right.
Yeah, we expected. Wow, okay. Worth the wait. That's a great one.
For me, yes.
Okay.
Well, go ahead, because I got more to say, but please.
I've got two big reactions, so you can give me another one if you want. So we have parity.
I couldn't get to sleep last night. I liked this movie so much.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay. Well...
if for no other reason...
You'll be happy to know we're not going to cross over on our opinions.
All right. That's what I assumed was going to happen, if I'm being honest. I thought we might disagree and argue about this.
I hate the idea that I wasted some of your mental energy during the film with you thinking, oh, Tom's not going to like this. And I bet I did, didn't I?
A little bit.
It was like the ghost of me was next to you, rolling his eyes.
Okay. Like, even during the cold open, I remember having a conscious thought that was, how could somebody not like this? Tom has to like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you my own teaser.
Well,
I'll give you my own teaser.
Can I say one more thing?
No, carry on, yeah.
This is the one other thing that I want to add about this movie. What I like the most about this movie is that it is a James Bond film. And, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of the shallowness of James Bond movies and the character.
Yeah.
But what this movie had that other James Bond movies, for the most part, don't, unless you have a one-off with Lazenby. But this movie had stakes. There are real stakes for him as a man and the people around him. And that makes it different than any other James Bond film. And that was the thing that started going through my mind during that cold open.
Yeah.
Because that was a thing that the cold open had that no other cold opens have. Usually. That's what I liked about GoldenEye. GoldenEye raised the stakes. Oh, these guys are partners.
Yeah.
He screwed him over.
Yeah.
Or at least you could understand why somebody would be angry about setting off a bomb earlier than anticipated and planned for. And that's what this movie had, and I fucking loved it.
There's a little bit of a myth that I think even I've bought into, that the purpose of a Bond cold open is to be a standalone mission. And when you actually go movie by movie, there's one, maybe two instances of that. The rest are all setups for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that, even in my head, that's what I'm judging a cold open against. Like, how good is it as a sort of standalone, independent mission?
Right.
And apart from Octopussy and Goldfinger, there's really no other.
I was gonna say Octopussy is definitely on that list.
Yeah. So it's interesting what you say about stakes, because it seems counterintuitive to think about that as a setup for the rest of the movie. But in the majority of Bond films, that's what it is. So when you going by the logic of the series, you should have stakes in that.
Mm-hmm.
But even though it's only happened a couple of times, it also works when it has zero stakes, and it's just, you complete a mission within, a few minutes.
Let me try and get...
Yeah, we want to see as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
I'm trying to give you the best sound quality with the worst visual quality.
And I'm the reverse of that, so we dovetail nicely.
Fantastic.
You're getting literary sculptures.
Yeah.
You're getting poster art. You're getting, sartorial, whatever, product placement.
All right, so give me your
I don't want to lose
reaction.
sight of. Let's keep the cold open tab open, because I have a lot to say about that. Cold open tab open. But I do. Yeah, I'll go with gut reactions first. Ambivalence.
Oh, Tom.
Again, not pejorative. There's a lot of this movie I don't know how to feel about. There's a lot of this movie
That's
like.
all right. I'll tell you how to feel about it.
I know, apparently. And then there's a lot of this movie I don't like. So ambivalence accurately sums up how I currently feel about it. Not you back off, but people who are going to be like, why didn't you love it? And you'll be happy I modified this second one to be less pejorative. Surprise.
All right.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But always surprise.
Fucking fuck. What's the matter with you? Do you have no heart?
I don't know.
Do you have no soul? What's going on?
I've said literally zero pretty much to anyone about this movie so far. Like, I've said nothing out loud about it. The only thing is that I was talking to my parents over Zoom the other day, and they said, "Oh, you went to see the Bond movie. How was it?" They couldn't care less, so they're probably not going to even remember what I say. So I felt fine just sort of blurting out whatever came to my mind. And I said, "Do you know what I said? This is word for word what I said." I said, I don't know if I like Bond movies when they're good movies." And I hadn't even articulated that in my brain, but that's what came out, because if I'm talking to you about it, I want to have at least processed something, so it give you the respect of.
You mean film school processed?
No, I mean I know you care about it. My parents couldn't care less about the movie or what I thought of it. So it was just that, and immediately I was like, oh, what a ridiculous thing to say. I think that might be the truth.
No, I think that's a remarkable statement. That's
I think
great.
that might be the sad truth because, and I don't want to reopen the cold open tab right now, but I will say that the biggest thing on my mind while I was watching it was Octopussy. And why is this not Octopussy? Basically.
What? Why?
Well, we'll talk about that when we talk about the cold open. But I just wanted to give you a sense of, so yeah, those are my
the batshit crazy place you're coming from.
But I genuinely left the theater not knowing how to feel and feeling like nothing that had happened in the last 2 hours and 43 minutes. Just say that again: 2 hours and 43 minutes.
I'll give you that. Longest Bond movie ever
was what I was expecting. Yeah, so the Daniel Craig era has given us the shortest Bond film ever and the longest Bond film ever.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Maybe they felt, maybe I don't know. Maybe Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson are just like they just couldn't rationalize it unless they need the running times to be 5 movies, like on average. Maybe they're just too autistic about these things. So yeah, anyway, I didn't know how to feel, and I was pretty much taken aback by everything that I saw. And again, I don't know what camp that belongs in, positive or negative yet.
I mean, I'm tempted to ask you to expand on that, but I suppose as we go along through the narrative, you will, or what? How do you want to?
Yeah, but let's do some everything sequel business.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a good film?
Yes.
Okay. I think it probably is.
Not probably. It fucking is.
Wow, okay. I think it probably is.
You're watching it wrong.
It's a well-made film.
That's one of the things I was struck by. I think it's an amazing send-off. I think it's carefully constructed, although too drawn out. That's
not carefully constructed, then.
Well,
anyway,
I guess I'm talking about the touches. I love that. Again, spoiler alerts. But I love that.
Pierce Brosnan is the next Bond.
Yeah, like
I'm just trying to fuck with people.
No, but I like seeing like the M's on the wall.
Well,
the painted M's.
I love you. I mean, did you know? Oh God, I can't believe I'm trying to say something nice about the movie, and I'm going to release another controversial opinion. I can't get out of this web of vitriol. Robert Lee is my favorite. So Robert Lee.
Wait, what?
Robert Brown, Roger Moore, and Timothy Dalton's M.
Yes,
is my favorite M because which is ridiculous. Everyone, Bernard Lee or Judi Dench, there's no in between. Robert Brown is my idea of what M is. It always was from the books. I think he pairs with Dalton really well. He pairs with Moore really well too. So the fact that it's him and not Bernard Lee,
right, actually
pleases me. Yeah, that was a great touch, but it was also an offbeat touch because you think your go-to would be Bernard Lee.
Yeah.
Situation.
But I love that they did that. I love that we're saying goodbye to Felix Leiter, and he has, well, not exactly a hero's send-off, but within the relationship between him and James Bond, that sort of brotherhood, I really, really loved. So I love having, the send-off for him. I love that towards the end we have a James walking down the hallway and having the cold open shoot, point to the screen and shoot
Yeah.
scene. Like all these touches that say goodbye.
Well, a few things about that. I think director Cary Fukunaga, it's safe to say, is a big fan of the Dalton era. Because within the frame of this movie, he's brought back the Dalton Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Robert Brown, who is the kind of forgotten M, like left out of everyone's narrative of the series. And Felix Leiter and Bond, their relationship, their emotional connection.
Yeah.
Their say brotherhood, their actual, their emotional affinity, which is, the basis of License to Kill.
Right.
So that's very interesting to me, given that this is the final Daniel Craig film, and those of us who appreciate the Dalton era know that this kind of the Daniel Craig's era was sort of riding on the idea that no one had ever attempted this kind of gritty, like literary forward version of Bond, when of course Dalton had done it in the late 80s.
Right.
So it's nice that the series is finally coming to terms with the fact that it was, not the first people to do that, and it had never really kind of acknowledged that on screen before, which was so. Yes, I really enjoyed all of that. I think not problem. I don't want to be negative. In the Felix Leiter section,
get out of here.
So
of course you're going to be negative.
No, I'm not going to be negative. I love Jeffrey Wright as Felix Leiter. I love seeing him as Felix Leiter. As I was watching it, I thought, well, he's not doing much, is he? And then in the back of my mind said, well, Felix never does anything.
Right.
In any of the movies. But I don't like to be made to think about that. And I don't know why I'm thinking about that now. Like, I've never thought about that before. That he's essentially futile. But he really seemed extra futile here. Like, he wasn't even the head honcho in his own CIA double act.
Yeah, but I kind of liked that, because I liked that Smiley McBaddy kept telling
Book of Mormon. That's a good joke.
Yeah, there you go. Kept telling the scientist, that's enough now, stop now. And it was almost as though Jeffrey Wright couldn't figure out why he was talking and kept saying, shut up. And I kind of liked that dynamic of he'd clearly gotten into bed with somebody at CIA that he didn't know well, and
it was the State Department as well, wasn't it?
Or something. But I could kind of see that at play, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too. It just it was a. I sort of wondered whether it was worth bringing him back just to die. Spoiler alert! It was probably too late for that, but no one really cares about Felix Leiter, Even I've got to mention some book stuff.
And we've got bigger fish to fry.
Fleming dismembered him on his second appearance in the novels, so no one really cares.
Or No Time to Die.
Sure.
All right, let's do that.
There's no time left in this first segment.
I'll say. All right, we'll be right back right after this. Does the coronavirus have you feeling oogie? Have you been sitting on your couch for weeks? Nay, have you been sitting on there for months? Well, it's time for you to get back in shape. Check out 2AT Fitness. You can find them on Instagram. You can find them on Facebook. 2AT Fitness was started by Tina Bernard. She is ready and raring to go to help you get back into the shape you want to get into. They've got all kinds of classes. They've got outdoor in-person classes. They've got online classes if that's what you prefer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get back in shape. You're going to find a variety of exercises. You're going to have strength training, cardio, weightlifting, even fun 5-minute burnouts that will push you to your limits. So get off the couch, get into shape. Go ahead and check out 2AT Fitness. Tina Bernard has got you for all your needs. I know her personally. She's fantastic. You're not going to meet a better person to help you become the new you. Check it out. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Tom and I are here discussing, for the James Bond Book Club, No Time to Die, a movie.
Did you say a movie?
A movie.
A movie. Okay, so we've talked about whether it's a good film or not. There's consensus there. I didn't think that's where there'd be consensus. Is it a good Bond film? Because I feel like I can say no to this and I don't care. Like, I don't care what anyone says.
Well, so I was fully prepared for that exact question.
Yeah.
If anybody that says that this is not a good Bond movie, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah.
But my refrain again is, I don't care. Like, I don't care.
You're Tommy Lee Jones at the top of the dam.
Yep.
and I'm Harrison Ford pleading with you for my life.
Jump. Motherfucker.
Well,
jump.
I mean, it turned out well for him.
Yeah, but I got my man.
You didn't get your man.
No, not only did I get my man, I got his friend.
Yeah,
and
but
arrested him too.
I'm gonna blow it all over town that you took the cuffs off me in the car.
Yeah,
so
plus I showed up the Chicago cops as well.
What, the guys from Hard to Kill? That's not hard.
What do you mean he did it for the money? He's already
cops.
Rich.
The same two cops from Hard to Kill.
If you need a cop from Chicago, it's those two guys. Always. Even when Chicago is posing as Gotham.
That's right. Anyway, here we are talking about the Bond film No Time to Die. Okay, great. Yeah. All right. Well, let's just leave it at that then, because we'll. Here's something.
But that's also one of the many reasons I love this movie, is because it chooses to do things that no other Bond movie does.
Yes. Often, however, there is a reason we do things a certain way in a Bond film.
Yeah.
And you have to provide a legitimate reason for not doing it that way, and I don't know whether this movie always did that.
You're going to have to be more specific with me there.
I'll get more specific. Here's something that I thought about. Okay, so when the movie was over, right? I heard, like, as the credits were rolling, I heard someone behind me in the movie theater say, "Oh yeah," like, just report to his friend, like, "Oh yeah, it's the last one he's gonna do." And then the credits ended. James Bond Will Return came up, and he went, "Oh, maybe not." And I mean, I was fuming. I was like, "Have you never seen one of these movies before?" But
right.
then I thought, no, I'm the weird one here. The majority of people now don't know any other Bond than Daniel Craig, and probably have not seen, like, past Skyfall. Like,
right.
That's the majority of most people's experience for that. So, whether it's a good Bond film or not, does it even matter? Is it a good Daniel Craig Bond film? Is all people care about.
Yeah.
And would you say it's a good Daniel Craig Bond film?
Fuck yes.
It's still at the lower end for me at the moment.
Wow. That's craziness.
It's definitely not going to top Casino Royale.
No.
And I have problems with that movie too.
But I think that's the only movie it doesn't beat out for me.
It's right on the line with Spectre for me.
Oh, come on.
And I think Quantum beats it.
What? Quantum's the worst of them all.
But it's the same thing. It's like taking the same risks, but it's over in half the time.
God damn it.
It's you know.
And Spectre, here's my overriding note for Spectre. For starters, shitty cold open. Terrible cold open.
But it understands what a cold open is supposed. I do agree with you, but it understands what a cold open is supposed to be, which is a big tick in its column.
Fine.
I mean, we don't need to see him wrestle I
don't need to see him choke out a helicopter pilot
ever again.
I don't need to see him try to choke out a helicopter pilot 8 times. Yeah. And then fall back and then do it again.
And, it's not Touch of Evil. I don't need a continuous take.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I don't...
Also, my big overriding note for that movie, why is it so fucking yellow?
Oh, Sam Mendes. Because Sam Mendes doesn't know what he's doing, is my answer to that, and everything in Skyfall. But,
I like Skyfall.
I don't know. I think the problem...
You're on your own there.
It's middle to low right now for me. But I had to see Quantum of Solace a few times to understand and respect it. So there's hope yet that it could.
I only rewatched it, I think last year when COVID started, and I watched all the Bond movies because I had the time. And
now there's no time.
Yeah, I liked it more than I did on a first viewing. On a first viewing, I thought it was awful.
It's really just and you can say that quality is the difference. But I do find it interesting that from the general sense I've got about what people like about this movie is that their expectations are subverted. And that was exactly what people disliked about Quantum of Solace. Like, to the letter.
Yeah.
It's just really funny. It's just like context changes everything. This movie came out 2 years ago. Would there be more of a kind of like, well, it's not my Bond kind of reaction to it? Like, I don't know. It's just everything's a crapshoot with release structure. Like, all we've said on the podcast about, if Solo had come out at a different time, people would have had a different opinion of it. If it didn't come straight after Last Jedi and was really, and it's sort of like people's thirst right now for people's thirst for it is different than it would have been if it came out on schedule. But anyway.
Well, I don't know that that's true because it only had a $56 million opening.
Yeah, well, worldwide...
And when Venom...
Worldwide it'll do fine, but yeah, in America it's...
Worldwide it'll do fine. Yeah. But this movie had a
opening.
budget of $250 million. So, when Venom took in $90 million just the week before, everybody over at James Bond thought, what the fuck? We don't have enough James Bond fans to push beyond $50 million? That must have been a disappointment.
Yeah.
But I am here to tell you, go see this movie.
Yeah, you should
go see it in a movie theater. I fucking love it.
If you're questioning whether you need to go to the bathroom beforehand, the answer is yes. That's my only... that's the only reservation I'm going to have. But yeah, go and see it. I mean, you will get something that is worth most of your time.
Get out.
I'm sorry. I one day I will be able to say definitively how I feel, but right now, it's interesting. I'll tell you what it did remind me of in the Bond canon. This is something I can say definitively. this really felt like all the last movies in an actor's tenure playing Bond.
Yeah.
Like, so what are those? They are Diamonds Are Forever. Well, if you discount Never Say Never Again, but
Right.
you can actually apply most of the same arguments to that. View to a Kill.
View to a Kill.
Die Another Day.
See, but I think it's a little different because, say, with A View to a Kill, and especially Die Another Day, you know, like a lot of times what happens with Bond movies is you're either too old or you made such a piece of shit movie that somebody says, look, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Whereas
or
this...
9/11 happened, but as well.
Right, yeah. Whereas this movie felt so purposefully saying goodbye.
Yeah.
In a way that those other movies don't to me.
I would agree with you if he didn't retire twice a movie, but yes.
Right. I mean, he's always coming back from retirement within this series. But that was another thing that I thought was really smart about this movie that I really liked. He actually had left. Somebody else is 007 now. He even looks his age. I mean, there are moments where you have a straight-on shot of him and you're starting to get that Roger Moore vibe.
I got that Roger Moore vibe a lot.
Yeah. But I like that, like, it's part of the narrative. It's part of the character. They're referencing it. They're talking about it. You're gone. You're like, what are you doing back? We don't need you. Thanks a lot. Goodbye. As opposed to Roger Moore just, you know, like climbing the fucking Golden Gate Bridge at 90. Like,
first of all, he didn't climb it as some sort of, like, you know, sport. He fell out of a Zeppelin.
I know, but still.
Even if I was in my, I don't know what age is that movie, 80s, I would still
he would not have the forearm and hand strength to hold on to the line of that Zeppelin to be able to get on the Golden Gate Bridge. Like,
well, his hairpiece would have definitely gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do agree with that it's the first time that narratively the idea of Bond being past his best has mattered beyond, like,
lip service.
Yeah, they usually give it lip service. Even in Never Say Never Again, with you know, like, where the movie is about a sort of Bond approaching retirement for one last mission. They don't even really lean into it then. So, yeah, I did like that. But what I meant more about the last movie in the series is mostly to do with bizarre science. Like, all those movies turn up the bizarre science elements to 11.
See, but I love this evil plan.
But you got to admit, nanobots is up there with the diamond satellites and, you know, the DNA replacement therapy.
I think it's all, like...
In
idea, maybe, yeah, in
not
kind,
in
but
degree, but in kind,
but not in how it's represented either. Because the other thing
there's a bionic eye in this film, Mike, on a cushion,
but
running a global organization.
I can go along with the bionic eye.
I'm not complaining. These are probably my most liked elements of the movie. I'm just saying, like, it's tempting to see this movie as an outlier, but when you go back through the canon, you can actually see that when you get to that last movie, they're a little bit, like, the tone is all over the place, just as it is in this movie. The science is bizarre. The storyline gets more absurd. There's something happens to the actors which makes them act in a really strange way. Like, you can't predict what they're going to do scene to scene. And I could not nail down what Daniel Craig was doing acting-wise in this movie. Again, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worst. But that's Sean Connery in Diamonds Are Forever. That's Roger Moore in View to a Kill. Pierce Brosnan in Die Another Day. They're they're beyond checked out. I think that's like Daniel Craig's been checked out for the last 2 movies, and now he's beyond that, and it's just weird, random choices like splattered across the screen. And I like that actually gives me a that's one of the warm, familiar feelings that I liked about this film. When the Bionic Eye came out, I thought, finally, something I can relate to. Hey, I just want to say now, how weird must that day that Christoph Waltz did on set have been?
Right. Yeah.
I want to see all. Well, that's
no, you lost your.
Even my past self is rejecting me. How mad! Like he only did like a day or a couple of days at Elstree.
Well, because there was some sort of weird thing where. Because we all know the famous story of, I think, if you're a James Bond fan, you know that at the end of Spectre, when he's doing press, somebody had asked him about another film, and he's like, what? Wait, what? No, fuck that, and fuck this, and it's like kind of a famous story about him saying, I can't even possibly imagine ever wanting to fucking do this ever again.
Right.
And of course he came back, and Christoph Waltz had always kind of maintained, if Daniel's not in it, I'm not interested. And then I think there was a weird thing of I think he's coming back, and he was like, yeah, I know, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. And then they came up with this idea of like, I assume they came up with this idea of
they watched Goldmember.
You only got to work a couple days. He's like, okay, fine.
They watched Goldmember.
Yeah, right.
Laid it all out for them. But I just I'm thinking he was only in there he was only coming back for a couple of days. It's like, okay, so sit in this room and act crazy. We need audio of you saying like crazy things, like Colonel Kurtz level crazy things. And then you're gonna come out in like a forklift truck.
See, I like
and
that.
Sit there while Daniel Craig makes a bunch of weird acting choices. While you sit there and look at him and say, cuckoo. I mean, that sounds like a great couple of days.
Well, he's bringing back his Spectre shit. He's been calling him cuckoo for...
No, I know. I just think it's like...
So what's your problem with Daniel Craig? What are his weird acting choices in that scene? Because it didn't strike me as, hey, that's weird.
Well, I wanted that to be tension and... fear.
And he was more lighthearted.
It wasn't even lighthearted. It was just like, hey, Blofeld, you're a man, and his arms started going crazy. Like, you're a man, and I'm a man. Right. Come on, but like, I think it's just a thing that happens to the Bond actors when they've been doing this for long enough. Something kind of like.
See, I thought of it differently. I thought I saw, because you're right in the sense of with the forklift and
I love that moment.
I do too.
There was someone said something about a line like special delivery or something like that. It was like a.
Did somebody say that?
All I know is because special delivery.
You can see that Madeline is kind of going crazy at that point with fear. Up the tension of like Hannibal Lecter in his little box, ding 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 ding, ding coming towards you.
I think it's more like old man on a mobility scooter.
But to me, I thought I saw Daniel Craig make a conscious choice to... He's just trying to get the name. And so he pops the balloon of tension to say, you're caught. So let's just have a chat.
It made sense to me when I thought about the dynamic between the dude and Walter in The Big Lebowski. So the Coens wrote it really carefully that the dude is a chilled guy until he has to deal with Walter, and then he's this screaming, enraged mess.
Right.
And I think that's what they were going for here. It's like Blofeld is James Bond's Walter. Like, he's he's smooth and dry in every other situation, but when he has to be face to face with this guy, because it's his annoying brother.
Yeah, right.
I just thought it's like I don't know what, like there's millions of other ways you could have done that scene that would have been more interesting to me than, again, like the brother thing fundamentally doesn't work, and I didn't like that they leaned back into it. They should have played that down because they're not brothers.
Right.
Dad just taught him to ski. That's it.
Right. That's
okay?
the extent
they're not related.
of it.
They're not really, like, in Blofeld's mind, he's his brother because he's crazy, as we see many examples of in this movie.
Over and over and over again.
I want to see the Blu-ray extras that are just like the footage we got when we asked Christopher Waltz to act crazy in a room for an hour. So yeah, that was what I was kind of clinging to in the world of Old Bond. Was that
so let's
last minute madness.
Let's talk about this in terms of world of Old Bond. What'd you think of Rami Malek?
I mean, he's probably the focal point of what I don't understand, like how I'm supposed to feel about this movie.
Okay.
Because everything about him suggests he's the villain of the piece, but the fact that there's no threat, there's nothing particularly interesting. Like, it's like total blank canvas for me. And some of the criticism I've seen of the movie so far, like that I've been about, like, what's this guy want? What is he doing? What does he want? And
see, but he felt more like old school Bond villain to me in that way of what he wants.
Well, he looked like Dr. No.
Right.
And to sort of bring this ball back to the books, the biggest literary pull that this movie has to the books is the Garden of Death, which appears in Ian Fleming's You Only Live Twice. It's actually Mad Blofeld's island, and he's going under the name of Dr. Shatterhand, which was the working title for this movie. I mean, the fake title that they the blue, the blue.
I think they've used that fake title a couple of times, though, right?
No,
they use it often.
Well, I mean, it makes sense here because that's a direct lift. The Poison Island, the fact that it's somewhere between Japan and Russia and it's a disputed island, that's all
in the book.
That's all in You Only Live Twice. So that's a big literary pull. And I mean, aesthetically, he was Dr. No without being a racist caricature of an Asian person. Mm-hmm. Not that I knew where he was supposed to be from. So it felt like I don't have very strong feelings about Rami Malek as an actor. I've never particularly enjoyed anything he's done. Never disliked anything he's done. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really see where he fit into this movie, weirdly.
Really?
I mean, he's just like Belloc, right? But not interesting? That's the best I could come up with.
Well,
like,
so
you and I are like when he said you and I are the same person. I'm like, okay, I get that. And he lets he sort of and at some point in the movie he just gives up any advantage he has over Bond. It's like, well, of course you can defeat a villain who does that.
Right. That was the only thing to me where I said, what's going on there?
That felt like whoever revised Danny Boyle's
it was a
script
courtesy.
Had forgotten about that.
It was a courtesy that Madeline's father never gave him or his family, letting her child go,
which all happens off screen, and maybe that's why I'm so confused about it, and is alluded to in ways that like no one has the same story about what happened, and maybe that's part of the ambiguity that makes this a better movie, but. It's a Bond movie. I mean, you ambiguity should be like short measures of ambiguity to make the formula work.
So what I liked about Rami Malek was I liked like, I liked having the disfigured villain back in our midst, and I liked...
He's never gone away. Javier
No,
Bardem.
but I mean...
Who was the last one? Blofeld.
Christoph.
Igon.
Yeah, but not at the beginning. Like, that happens, Inspector.
That's how badly you're defending this movie. I'm getting you to defend Spectre as well.
I know. Spectre, too yellow.
Go on, you were saying nice things about Rami Malek.
Well, what I liked about him was it felt like an old school throwback of, I want to do this shit to the world, but I have this, I've built up this altruistic thing in my mind about why we need to do it. I wish he had either made the choice as an actor or had been driven to make him a little bit more fun, though, and like lean into, a maniacal kind of.
That's what really disappointed me about just hearing that he'd been cast. It was like, but here's something. You mentioned comedy now, so I think we can go on to this. There's a lot of comedy in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Does it work for you?
Usually.
I will say, I thought the quality of puns had gone up a level.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard not to read the influence of Phoebe Waller-Bridge in there.
I was gonna bring this up, but it might be a longer conversation. Should we take one more break and come back?
Sure.
All right, let's do that. Everyone, we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna come back, and I have a feeling this might be a 4th segment, but at least conversation.
Well, that would be true to this movie.
Yeah, stay.
One more segment than you expect. I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had 1, maybe 2 craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They'll try new beers, they'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.
And we're back. All right. Tom, right before we went to break, you were bringing up Phoebe Waller-Bridge,
Yes.
which I'm very excited about because I, like you, was trying to determine what influence she had, where she was writing, and what was her contribution. I mean, where do you lie? I'm having an OCD freak out. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, I'm in two minds. I have a feeling that most of the comedy of the movie, it lies somewhere between the bits of the Danny Boyle script that they decided not to exercise and her contribution, and I'm still not sure. Like, knowing that there was a Danny Boyle script which was lighter in tone, more sort of self-spoofing, as has been reported. And also knowing Phoebe Waller-Bridge and what, stuff like Killing Eve and Fleabag alike.
Right.
It could
it
could fall into either camp, but I mean...
So I was thinking like you were thinking, but then I started to think, did she have her hands in that cold open? Did she bring the familial aspect for James and Madeline into this story? Spoiler alert, there's a child.
That child was too well behaved for a Phoebe Waller-Bridge child. Like, if you've seen Killing Eve, whenever a child turns up, they're a little shit. And possibly a murderer. And there was no sense of that. No, I mean, spoiler alert, James Bond has a child.
But that was a joke I liked too, when she says she's not yours, and he says, but the blue eyes. I mean, she goes,
she says,
she's
but
not
she's
yours.
lying, right?
Yeah.
No wonder he thinks she's a big liar. She lies about something like that. And I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna bring up Twilight when we talk about that. You know, there's a big melodramatic misunderstanding that drives this entire movie, and I'm a little weird that you're okay with it, given what you've said about the entirety of Twilight. Anyway,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
But I actually thought it was the addition of a daughter was much more straightforward. That it was like pure James Cameron, Terminator 2, Aliens. It was like easiest shortcut to see this guy in a nicer light.
But all I'm saying is, do you think that would come from anybody who's been writing? Because there's like two guys that have been helping out writing Bond movies for the last 20 years or so.
I mean, it's not because of that. But yeah, it seems unlikely, except that I know for a fact that this is a storyline they've been trying to get in since Casino Royale.
Okay. All right.
But that's just behind the scenes information. From the beginning, from like the beginning of Daniel Craig's tenure, there was two kind of like storylines they kept trying to get in. One was that he had a black sheep brother, Blofeld.
Done.
The other one was that he would like be looking after a child. I think it was supposed to be like an adopted child, but I mean that's clearly
right.
And it wasn't like a smart enough representation of a child in the way that I know Phoebe Waller-Bridge would do. And I just thought it's straight James Cameron. Like, this is what you do when you want to sentimentalize your lead character.
Yeah.
But I definitely...
But I thought that worked. It did sentimentalize him.
Well, I'm eating apple slices, so I obviously didn't hate it that much.
There you go. I like that he's cutting her apple slices, but then you see him like...
She's a bit of a story problem, though, Mike. I mean, I never. When you see Terminator 2 and Aliens, you don't think that John Connor knew to story problems in the same way that I thought. Like you actually don't have to do much to those movies, but you have to do a lot here because it's never happened. Like, not even an inkling of it.
I was gonna say, isn't that more? Doesn't that have more to do with the fact that we've never seen a child before?
Apart from the one that he pushes into the river in Thailand Man with the Golden Gun. That's his... I think that may be the only other child. I mean, there's all the children on the beaches with the balloons going, pourquoi? You know, all that sort of shit. But he's like... He holds out money and then Roger Moore pushes him in the water. Which, I mean, you know the story probably from my show, but he always felt bad about that. Especially when he started becoming when he became a UNICEF ambassador.
He came into that job just saying, let me say up front.
I mean, it was actually a big thing because it was things like we're not here to talk about Roger Moore, but I'll do that to any conversation.
Of course you will.
It was one of the turning points where, he said to the writers, I am not Sean Connery. You cannot have me do these things in the movie. I do not want to play this guy this way. Like, I don't want to be slapping women on beds. Like, I want to be my Bond. Spy Who Loved Me comes out, and you see that they've taken his notes, and, like, they're doing it, like, yeah. So it was actually a kind of... That led to a sentimentalization of the character, but, like, it's the...
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah, it's like the worst moment in any of the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think consensus-wise, a lot of people are saying Daniel Craig is, if not the best Bond, he's equal to Sean Connery or right below him. Where does he lie for you?
I've never really been on board with his representation, if I'm being perfectly honest.
So let me ask you this:
I
Is that
prefer him in.
because?
I mean, there are things that I've seen Daniel Craig in that I absolutely love him in, and
Yeah.
apart from some of Casino Royale, where I think he's not decided how he wants to play the character yet. I've never really. There's something missing. There's just something missing for me, and that's
Well, let me ask you this
purposeful,
though.
I think, like
Uh huh.
he really in the he kind of he's tied his nail to the post in terms of how he's playing this guy, and there's nothing wrong
Well,
with
what
that.
I always have appreciated about him, and we've talked about this before, say in the Batman series, he's never ever playing the idea of James Bond to me. When Pierce Brosnan orders his martini, he's going to say, shaken, not stirred.
That's that's the license to kill. She's saying that because the guy doesn't speak English, and that's not Bond.
Well,
Shaken, not stirred.
no,
He
no,
doesn't
no, no,
say it
no.
like that.
Pierce Brosnan has a couple moments where he says it just like that. Because he's playing James Bond.
Just
When
because you
Daniel
like this movie, don't like GoldenEye any less.
I don't. I love it. I'm saying I don't have a because I love Pierce Brosnan as a Bond.
Yeah, I do too.
But what I'm saying is, what's different about Daniel Craig is when he orders his martini, he's literally just telling the bartender what he wants.
I know too much cinematically and literarily to know that it's not his. That's not him. He's based that off other people. But anyway.
What do you mean?
Well, that's like Timothy Dalton throwing away the first James Bond in Living Daylights, and that's line for line from Casino Royale, the book. So
What is?
that moment you're talking about where he's like, oh, you mean in this movie when he says vodka?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. I absolutely don't mind him. He will never quite jibe as Bond for me. I think he's an excellent actor. I think he's this is what I meant about, the sort of like the end of school feeling, I suppose, of like like I can see that once he realized he didn't have to do Bond much longer, it kind of released some kind of weird energy in him. That's how he's playing this movie. And I prefer that to him, I think his worst performances are in the last two movies where he just seems totally checked out. But it's curious. And like I say, some of it works, some of it doesn't. Often I feel like there's just in this movie specifically, there's a misplaced energy in some of the scenes, and like the interrogation scene, I think he should have taken a different track. It's more on the film.
Wait. I'm trying to remember which.
With not the Blofeld scene.
Oh, okay.
It's
because you said interrogation scene, and I went immediately to Spectre. I was like, oh wait, that's Spectre. Wait. I thought you meant when he gets interrogated.
And at some point I thought, Timothy Dalton gets a bad rep for not doing the puns properly, but sometimes Craig's pretty bad at it too.
You mentioned the puns earlier.
I mean, as written, those puns are fantastic. Some of my favorite for years. They've clearly been honed and worked on by someone who understands comedy.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge was behind it. We were talking about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, weren't we?
But I also noticed that sometimes there'd be... Maybe I'm remembering this wrong. Wouldn't there be like a pun and then like a secondary small pun?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. And to me, it was like, that's when... Because nothing else in this movie is winking at the audience, and so those felt a little out of place. Those secondary...
It depends what you mean by winking, because, there's again, I was really taken aback by how much On Her Majesty's Secret Service there was in here. Like, the theme,
Yeah.
the Louis Armstrong version of the theme, dialogue. And I'm going to call this a literary pull too, because the movie of On Her Majesty's Secret Service is so closely modelled on the book that I'm going to say it's a dual literary filmic. Did you see that there was a Q&A, like an online Q&A that the Guardian newspaper held with Daniel Craig, and do you know who asked the question? George Lazenby. He wrote in a question for Daniel Craig, and it was about On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's like, how did you feel doing like a Bond movie that was inspired by the books more than the films, like I did? Did you enjoy putting all this ambiguity into the role, like I did? I mean, it was something like that, but that was really so. He pointed out that because that movie's so closely modeled on the book, you're essentially pulling from the books,
right?
In the same way Casino Royale did. So there's that kind of winking. There's the Robert Brown. There's the Dalton Aston Martin. There's the gun barrel in the tunnel.
Yeah.
I saw the influence of Phoebe Waller-Bridge as well in just past the cold open, like the beginning proper of the movie. That scene in the laboratory felt like it was straight out of a Killing Eve episode.
Right.
With
right.
the
well, especially the scientists at the beginning.
Yeah. What do you think about him? He's a comic. He's a Jar Jar.
I was gonna say he's
Jar Jar. I mean, apart from Rowan Atkinson in Never Say Never Again, we've never had a sustained character who's in all of the movie. I mean, there's the guy on the beach in Spain looking at his bottle of beer, going, "Oh!" But this is like a major character in the movie who is like outwardly farcical.
Yeah, but you're right. I just
Jar Jar's not pejorative, especially coming from me.
Well, it should be.
It should be, but it's not.
Like, what's the matter with you?
But you know me, it's not.
I have to admit that that's the thing about this movie is that because I got a very Alan Cumming vibe from GoldenEye.
You're right, yeah. Why do I like that, but I didn't like this?
Right, exactly. But I think it has to do with tone, because it feels out of place in this movie.
I agree.
He feels out of place in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, when the comedy doesn't work, it's because it feels like someone's gone through the script and put in funny bits. Because they thought there weren't enough funny bits in the movie, and oh god, we forgot to put comedy in any of the Daniel Craig movies. It's like someone came and said, we've got to put like some jokes in this one. And
right.
On the level of puns, it seems to work. Some of the camp humor, especially connected with Q, works.
Yes.
And I like that opening scene in the lab, and I breathed a sigh of relief. We still haven't talked about how I felt about the cold open, but
I know. I breathed. We're over an hour in, and we haven't talked about the cold open yet.
That was my first.
So we're clear.
That was my first sigh of relief. Was like, oh yeah, Living Daylights, GoldenEye. This is how they begin. Okay, maybe it'll be okay. And it would have been, but then the genius of those, well, I suppose not GoldenEye, but the genius of the Living Daylights is that those characters just, they're in one scene and then we move on. So they should have just killed them all off.
Right, gotcha.
I think Boris is different because he's like a different version of a henchman. And he's just the best version of one of those tech people that you get throughout the Brosnan era, and all of them are terrible, but Boris is actually kind of quite good. And Alan Cumming's not playing it for laughs in the same way this guy is.
Oh, I don't know.
But I don't know what this guy's character is in the same. Like I know, like I understand Boris, like he's motivated by vanity, but this guy is just babbling away, literally anything that's coming into his mind.
Well, this guy to
Is he
me
a
just
coward?
seems
Is
like
he, is he
to me he's a patsy.
brave? Yeah.
To me, he's a patsy.
He felt like a Doctor Who character, is what he felt like to me, like a Doctor Who scientist.
But I also liked the idea of, because we've been kind of building up. I mean, if you know James Bond lore and you know about Spectre, and then we have the movie Spectre in this series, and so you build up this thing and this idea about this worldwide organization that knows everything, that will demolish you if you even try to get near them, and then you have this idea of I just like the idea of an evil genius who gets over on them. That's cool to me.
Yeah. I think, I think it's been a big problem of this series. They've always wanted to keep the last villain in focus. In every movie.
Right.
And it's like they feel like they have an obligation that no other Bond film
has ever had, right?
To kind of like, well, we've got to deal with the ramifications of the guy from the last movie. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't have to. It just makes
and by the time you get to Spectre, it's like, hey, they were all working for the same
together.
guy.
But this is a little bit like that too. It's like
I like that we were out of that.
So much why? Like, I mean, I know they got the rights to it, so they feel like they have to use it, like hard-won legal battles to get the rights to Spectre. So I understand why they've gone back to it, but like Spectre, like I assumed Spectre was over, and I was fine with that. That seems like a natural endpoint for Spectre when Blofeld goes to prison. And let's say they have to work pretty hard for him to be still running Spectre via his bionic eye.
Yeah.
Implanted in some kind of boy band member.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. I loved it as one of my favorite lines from the movie is Blofeld's bionic eye is unlocked.
Yeah. Right.
But it's crazy. Again, it wouldn't pass screenwriting school, would it? It's like, how are you going to bring Blofeld back into the fold? Well, how do you feel about it? You remember the show $6 Million Man? It seems like the screenwriters have sort of burdened themselves with a continuity that doesn't need to be there sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It reduces the amount of screen time for Rami Malek and that whole storyline, which I really needed more of to kind of understand who this guy was and what it was indeed he wanted.
All right.
That's really all I need to know about a Bond villain. It's like, what motivates you and what's your plan?
Yeah.
And once you have those two things in place, the ball just keeps rolling from there.
All right, well, let's talk about the cold open, because you keep fucking referring to it. So why don't you at least tell me what is your problem, if you have a problem with the cold open?
It's not cold open, Mike. It's not cold open.
All right, fine. You know what my response is?
I don't care.
Fucking care.
Oh, you added a fucking in now. Very good. Oh, that's the other thing. I do not like M saying fuck. Do not like that.
You didn't like that?
No. I nearly threw up my popcorn when I heard him say, for fuck's sake. It's the head of the Secret Service.
That must be the British in you that's so offended.
I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I swear like a docker, but just to hear M saying for fuck's sake. It's like when they do it, I tell you exactly what it is. It's like when they do it in Star Trek. Because now they're on Paramount Plus.
Gotcha.
They can say fuck and shit and all that sort of stuff. And it really bothers me. I really think Gene Roddenberry did not have this in mind, like that kind of language in mind. From Picard. From the admirals in the Federation saying, I'm done with your shit. This is not...
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about. So, here's a weird thing. Like, one of my big trepidations going into this movie, because I'd seen in the trailer him stopping in the tunnel and turning and shooting,
Right.
was that they were going to forego a gun barrel and do that instead, as they did in Casino Royale.
Gotcha.
Didn't even... Then in the next couple of movies, the gun barrel was at the end for reasons I still don't understand.
Right.
And then they reintroduced it for Spectre, which hypnotized a lot of people into thinking it was a good movie, including me. No, seriously, it really did. Because it just felt like the real thing.
Yeah. But no blood.
Right. So when I saw the gun barrel,
I don't remember Spectre. Does Spectre had the blood coming down,
some
right?
Horror, like some Klingon blood or something. It looks.
Okay. But in this one, it's like whiteout kind of, and then we go to a map or whatever. I forget, but
they had a really traditional gun barrel opening.
Yeah.
More traditional than we've seen. So I was like, oh, this is very reassuring. It's like, oh, okay. So they're not gonna that was literally, I was going into it going, I hope they don't do the Casino Royale thing again where they think they can get away with not doing a gun barrel if you see him do something like a gun barrel in the
right.
But then once the cold open was going on, I was like, I think that was a promise that they didn't keep. Because if you do a gun barrel, then you've got to do a real cold open, and this is a short film.
Yes.
But
I think what I liked
3+ action sequences within it.
Yeah.
And again, the first thing I'm thinking is the world is not enough. They did it then, it didn't work. Why do they think it's going to work now? And
Worked
that was
for
about
me.
half the length of this.
Worked for me.
This is what I mean about, we've talked on this podcast a lot. I have no problem. Sequels should subvert formula. I think that's part of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to do that, you have to replace it with something that is equally good storytelling. Right?
You don't find good storytelling in both the cold opens?
Not for what it is. It's like a...
What do you mean for what it is?
Well,
you mean as a cold open?
It's a love story strung together with some bungee jumping and car chases. One of those sequences is perfectly fine. Pick one. Move on. Tell us this story another way. When Madeline appeared later on in the movie, I thought, wow, it would have been way better if we didn't know the information that we got in this cold open. That would be so much more exciting story if we didn't know why they broke up.
All right. I mean,
it's what I want from a Wes Anderson movie. It's not what I want from a Bond movie.
but I love him putting her on the train.
But why? Why do you like that and you don't like the stuff that happens in Twilight? It's the same. He has no reason to suspect her. No reason.
No, I think he does have reasons.
I mean, he shell shocks because of... But, what kind of world are we in where, Vesper's grave blows up and he's like, it's that Madeline. I was like, no, it's obviously fucking Blofeld. Because he's Blofeld. And she's your lover stroke wife or whatever they are. They get married? I don't know.
Yeah, but they already established that she has secrets and that she's keeping things from him. And because of what happened to him before, his natural instinct is to just say,
he's just
all right,
come out
that's
of
it.
The end of Spectre where Blofeld has been, manipulating his life for 20 fucking years. And his suspicions go straight to the woman who has, been nothing but a loyal ally to him since he first met her. It's melodrama. I don't think that has to make sense. It's a big misunderstanding. But it plays such a huge part in the movie. I just think it's bad storytelling. And there are individually good action sequences in this. even if they, I don't feel good about them starting with a flashback. Again, we've never seen that before. I don't want that to become a thing in these movies, to have flashbacks in them. I like seeing Wallace and Gromit, but whatever. That was. But I would have taken that if that was the cold open, because that makes sense. Cold opens are short, and because they're a teaser, they're not a self-standing movie with 3 acts. I'll tell you, there's a show on Paramount Plus called The Good Fight, and I get so irritated. They have I thought you'd hate this too. They have like 15-minute, 20-minute cold opens. They're a 40-minute episode. That's not a cold open. That's half your episode. If you're going to do that, put your title.
Like I said, you're not wrong about anything you're saying. I don't fucking care.
I nearly walked out.
Oh my God, come on.
Halfway through the cold open, I nearly walked out because I thought, right.
Somewhere in the car chase?
Well, it's just I thought, like, if the movie can get this part of it wrong, what hope is there? And that's not how it turned out. As it went on, I thought, this movie's got better bones than it.
Let me ask you this.
Front. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If the song came right after the flashback and then we moved on, does it change your mind?
Any of those sequences that work perfectly well as an individual unit could have been the cold open. I would have been perfectly fine with any of them, but not all of them strung together in a 3-act narrative structure that lasts. How long was that cold open?
It's a good 20 minutes.
Yeah,
at least.
The only one that comes close is The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. And that was agreed upon terrible. Like the first time they ever tried to do that.
Didn't you say that the first part of that movie is as good as any James Bond movie in the 21st century?
No, I hate that. I hate that movie probably of all the Brosnans the most.
Okay.
But so I just.
Oh, you said World is Not Enough. I was thinking Die Another Day. Sorry.
No, I'm talking about World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, okay.
And they do exactly the same thing. Like, they have a perfectly good cold open, but they just keep going. And that's, like, it made it harder for me to, like, that's the other thing is, like, what's great, like, when you have a big action moment in a cold open, you want it to sort of stand by itself. You don't want it to be swallowed up by story. And, having to work out what's going on and who's saying.
But shouldn't a sequel subvert?
Yes, but it has to replace it with something that is as legitimate as the thing it's replacing. And the Bond cold open it's a tradition that works because it works. So even. So this is the thing, and this is what, anyone can throw back at me. Anyone can, throw back this at me, which is that, you say On Your Majesty's Secret Service is your favorite Bond film. How is this any different, right? In terms of subverting formula. Because the bones of that movie are still, we want to deliver everything you would get in a Bond film. We just don't want to do it exactly the same way as we've been doing it for the past couple of movies,
including breaking the fourth wall.
Right. Well, that happens a lot in Bond movies.
What? Get the fuck out.
So, but it's like when I watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I think, yeah, that's interesting. That's experimental. It feels like a late '60s movie that's trying to mess with conventions, but it also feels like a legitimate Bond movie because it respects and understands that you have to deliver on the same terms. I'm talking just about the cold open here. Over the whole movie, as I say, I'm conflicted. But in that cold
I understand.
Open, I think they shit the bed.
Not for me.
It also felt like that because it didn't feel to me like this was purposeful. It felt like that it got away from them. Because it felt like how much longer could this possibly be? And I was like, oh, they want to get to this point of the story before the credits. By the way, please tell me you don't like the theme song. I don't even describe it as a song. It's noise. Formless noise.
I liked it better than Spectre's song. I really didn't like Spectre's song.
It's a worse example of what's bad about that Spectre song for me. You could hum it from start to finish now, and I would not remember it. Guaranteed. Same
for Spectre for me. I like this one a little more than Spectre, but I wish that, because normally when I forget her brother's name. What's her brother's name? Billie Eilish?
Don't know, don't care.
Anyway. What I like generally about their music is so many songs just feel so unique and like nothing I've ever heard before, and this wasn't that. So I wish they'd done something like that.
What about Hans Zimmer?
And let's talk about Hans Zimmer. How about that?
Sure.
All right. Today's episode is brought to you by the Sounds in Cinema podcast. If you like podcasts like I do, boy, do I have a treat for you. You need to
stay on target
and check out the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Listen as your host, sound designer and music creator Tony Parham, and co-host, musical performer and sound lover Derek Hansen, D-Rock if you're nasty, and I am, discuss all things sound related to film, television, stage, and theatrical productions. They discuss environmental sounds, bioacoustics, dialogue, the nature of communication through sound, but as an added bonus, they drink beer and try to
stay on target.
Find them wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the pure mania of a man who can charitably be described as Doug, the dog from Up, and another man with a soothing and sultry voice trying to get that man to
stay on target.
That's the Sounds in Cinema podcast. Tune in and listen to the sounds they are creating just for you. And we're back. All right. So, Tom, when we left, you were asking me about Hans Zimmer. I really liked the score to this movie. Oh, can I take it you disagree then?
Again, I'm conflicted.
Because the end of this movie had me in tears.
Oh, God. Well, if you go by the ending of You Only Live Twice, he's still alive. He just fell in the sea and lost his memory. So I'm still counting on that. Literally, that's how it did. This movie and You Only Live Twice, the book, end the same way, except, you know, there's a postscript in which he becomes a Japanese fisherman.
So he has a Die Hard 3 kind of survival.
Yeah.
Where the boat explodes. So with a vengeance.
Yeah. He returns.
All right.
So I really did expect there to be like a post-credits scene where he washes up on the shore, and like a Japanese fisherwoman rescues him and tells him that, you know, so it's so in love with him that she tells him he's, you know, her lover or whatever happened to them. Anyway, clearly they were not interested in that. So I'm conflicted. I read an interview with Hans Zimmer which was him talking about the Bond music, and he definitely has a lot of respect for the authenticity of Bond music. Well, not the authenticity, the uniqueness of it. And I know a big part of his process here was to keep as much of the Bond theme and the Bond style of music intact as possible. But I feel like whenever he was departing from that and doing his own thing, and I feel this generally about Hans Zimmer music, it sounds like a child operating an instrument. Like it's like doo doo doo. Like if you put a xylophone in front of me, I'd make much the same noises that he makes. Like 1 note, 2 note, 3 note, na 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 na, Dark Knight score.
You're crazy.
So, didn't do much. I thought like he did a good job interpreting the Bond style, but whenever it sounded like Hans Zimmer, it was like it could have been The Dark Knight, it could have been whatever. So that's that's kind of how I felt about it.
All right. Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say,
No,
I
you
mean,
hang up.
we should talk about the end of this movie, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Because
We just talked about the opening, so let's talk about the ending.
I know, I was gonna say. I mean, I guess the only thing we haven't talked about, sort of in between, because we've been jumping around, but we haven't really talked about Ana de Armas, who's in this movie for a couple minutes.
Well, more importantly than that, yeah, I don't think she warrants much discussion. Seems like a total afterthought to me. We should talk about 007.
Oh, yes, we should. Fuck, we haven't discussed 007 at all.
Well, I mean, what do you think?
I thought she was great.
Yeah, I gotta say,
Phenomenal.
I love the idea. Obviously, it makes me feel good as a human being to have black female British
as 007.
007. But beyond that, I thought it was written well. It was never intrusive.
Right. It felt very seamless to me, and the dynamic between her and Bond was fantastic as well to me.
I love how she was introduced, how she was pretending to be Jamaican, how she had the wig like Rosie in Live and Let Die.
Yeah. But I like that she takes it off because she knows that he's not a fool and that he knows.
And that's the other part of it is she feels like part of the movie that is trying to tone down the womanizing aspect of the movie, because he doesn't sleep with anyone but Madeline,
right?
And I think that's the last time that happened was Living Daylights, I think, where he like only sleeps with one person, and that was very AIDS focused rewrite. But this seems more this seemed more organic, like it, like seducing him is a good way to get him into the bedroom, but when you're in the bedroom, it's all business.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
when you're in the bedroom, it's I'm going to shoot you in the knee, the one that works.
So I thought she was a great addition. I felt slightly, again, I felt conflicted about the moment where she gave back her 007 status. I feel like that was for the misogynists in the audience.
Right.
That was, which, you can't say that's not a traditional Bond thing, that's what they like to do. They like to make feminist statements and walk them back. That's like how Bond movies have always worked.
Right.
But it wasn't, it was like it was a walk back that made sense in context because of what was going on in the drama. But I think you have to say that it was for the people in the room who are still having trouble accepting a female Doctor Who, and
yeah, right.
And the sort of Jeremy Clarkson loving James Bond fan who's like who feels that the idea of a black female 007 is too woke for them, but none of that. It doesn't feel tokenistic at all. It feels like,
yeah, that's what I liked about it. Yeah.
And it was played really well, and I love the fact that I think she's absolutely stunning, but I like that she wasn't that in the Bond girl mode. It was like she has a fantastic body, but it's like not what we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. It's like really sexy, but also like not Bond girl, like not Bond girl material,
right.
And that's the film's fault, not not hers. But I love that aspect of it. So yeah, that was a real success for me, apart for that slightly sexist note. But it's really interesting. Like I kind of liked the First of all, like my favorite parts in the movie were nearly all in Jamaica. When he was, because he's living the life of Ian Fleming.
Yeah,
And
yeah, right.
it's like, once you take away the gloss of James Bond, that Ian Fleming life is very sad and pitiful. He's alone on his ranch in Jamaica, catching his fish. He goes into town in the evening.
Yeah.
He can't get his Jeep started. It's like, oh God. And I thought they really did that, they really did that well. Like, I really believed he'd just become a total hermit in the 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, I completely believe that aspect of it. So, and the music was best in that part of the movie for me as well. I think it was a real misstep, given what they're doing on screen with diversity, not to have an artist of color for this movie. Especially, I mean, Billie Eilish is the most white-sounding white person I've ever heard in music. So I'd love to get, like, given that some of this is in Jamaica and you've got a black female 007, it's like...
Right.
I mean, I was still holding out that when they brought Grace Jones in, that it was for the music, not... I mean, she ended up not even being in the movie because she walked off set, but...
I forgot about that.
Yeah, Grace Jones was supposed to be in the Jamaica scenes.
I forgot about that. You're right.
Oh, and now my braces have gone as well, so being gradually stripped away.
Done
Yeah, okay.
and done.
Are there any other Bond like significant characters? Bond allies? Not really.
No. I mean, there's Moneypenny and Q and...
The Scooby Gang.
But, yeah.
And I'm fine with... I never had a problem with them being the Scooby Gang. I thought Q was better written than in previous movies. I like the little glimpses we get into... I always liked it with Desmond Llewellyn as well. These little glimpses you get into his life.
Yeah.
So it's like, just like him making dinner for, making dinner at home. It's like, yeah, it's like Desmond Llewellyn with a baguette. It's
just walking
just
around.
Touch of the domestic, and he has his tea in a special drawer.
Yeah.
I liked it. That's good. I think Ben Wishaw's great as well.
Okay, good.
And I didn't like M swearing, but I was fine with everything Ralph Fiennes was doing.
Because you said before that you're not a huge fan
Of Ralph Fiennes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm fine with him. I don't like how they keep calling him Mallory. You're either M or you're not. You can't be somewhat M. Can't just have a name that begins with M, even though that's what M is.
Well, are you okay with ending of your book put aside? Are you okay with the idea of James Bond being killed?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense given how they started the series with Daniel Craig, and if you're gonna reboot it, the same logic applies to ending the reboot.
Right.
And that does have to be taken into consideration. You can't be a Bond purist about that aspect of it, given the way that he started. It is interesting, though, that I do want, if that was the sticking point that made Danny Boyle leave the film, which has been reported that was the reason why he left. I'm sure, listen, working with Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, it's like, take your pick of on-set problems, right? But
yeah,
that was reported as a big, like, they just couldn't get past that. He was like, no, Bond doesn't die. It's the whole totally against, but Daniel Craig's Bond can die, I think. No, not because I want to move on, but I mean in the logic of the series that he's been a part of.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. It just seemed like wrapping a bow on his Bond in a way that felt purposeful and appropriate.
Yeah.
And again, like him not being able to essentially ever see his wife and daughter again if he were to live. The sacrifice of
I
it.
can't believe you like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
We did like 4 Twilight movies, and every single time you were like, "Oh, this is too melodramatic. There's these big coincidences, and you know this kind of like melodramatic storytelling." It's like, this is melodrama 101. This is the Romeo and Juliet poison.
Wait. I like melodrama. That's different than Three's Company misunderstandings.
This is very Three's Company.
Get the fuck out of here, no.
I mean, you know, his little vial of nanobots, which are not just for Christmas. That's a great line. That's like, here's a story point in a vial, right? I mean, but like the bizarre science aspect of this, I really like, but I was just like, that's a very targeted piece of technology that makes this story happen.
But what I like about it too is that like it was something M instituted. It was, you know, something he lost control of that he thought would help the monarchy.
I'm a little bit fuzzy about that.
What do you mean? It's a targeted bioweapon.
I don't think
they lost.
I know that, you know, we all hate people in authority in government now, and that's fine and true and closer to reality that these people, you know, can't see the forest for the trees when it comes to national security. But I don't know that M should be kind of above reproach for this for Bond to work, I think. Or at least we shouldn't know so much about
what M's up to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It all felt again. It was like it was just getting from A to B here. Like, didn't really affect anything that M had created it. They're still going to do everything the same.
Well, no, because it was repurposed.
But how is he going to do anything? How is he going? What orders is he going to give that are different than if it wasn't?
Well, I think it branched out to like spread from person to person as opposed to just taking out the one person. You can now.
So he deal with it like any other pandemic virus, right? He'd deal with it exactly the same. Send 007 in.
Yeah.
Get Bond out of retirement. I mean, like it's what it's like. What's being affected here at the level of story? Maybe that's my problem. I'm focusing on story, and this movie is about emotion and character.
It's definitely about emotion. This movie, and that's where it worked for me the most.
It reminds you how really interesting. Like, for all that's been said about the Daniel Craig Bond movies, it reminds you how little that plays a part in the previous movies, relatively.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
When you get that cold open that's like full-on Italian melodrama, you know, like like that. It's like full on that for 20 minutes or so. You're like, wow, you know, it's like, you know, that one moment underwater in Casino Royale. It's kind of it, you know, in terms of like genuine melodrama.
This movie, this is what this series, his Bonds, and this movie in particular dares to do.
It's a big. I mean, it's a big.
What no other Bond movies do.
Well, they do, but they keep it like they. It's never like, even in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, it doesn't interfere with the pleasures of the movie, in the way that this one does. The fact that his wife dies on Her Majesty's Secret Service is something that happens at the end of the movie after we've got a Bond movie that's resolved itself.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's the driving force of License to Kill, but everyone hated that. So it's like interesting that we're straight in with emotion at the beginning, and it's like that's our through line for the movie,
right?
And it doubles.
That's what I like about it. It's so funny that we're discovering the things we appreciate yet again, both in this movie and movies in general, I suppose.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I realize that I treat Bond movies separate from the rest of cinema.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's the only thing that I now feel certain of about this movie, is that it's made me realize that.
Well, and it's funny because you keep talking about how I feel about this movie, and then in terms of, say, the Twilight movies.
You've left me no choice.
Yeah, but they're separate entities as well.
But one mode of storytelling belongs in one and doesn't belong in another, at least traditionally.
Traditionally. But
even
again,
recently, traditionally.
But again, that's an inversion that I really like for this movie. I like that. I loved that. That's why I responded so much to this movie, was the emotional weight behind it. Even in a 20-minute long cold open, that's not a cold open, I understand. But with everybody firing at his bulletproof car and Cyclops, taking his rifle and he's about to get her, and just the close-up on his face, and the all right then, or the okay then, and he's going to do enough to at least save her life and put her on that train and then never see her again. There's emotional weight behind that. Whether it's right or wrong for him to do it, clearly he was in the wrong. But that to me in itself is kind of interesting. And then along with that, that is the sustaining through line throughout this whole movie.
Yeah, it is.
And
you have to either deal with that or suffer in silence like I did.
Yeah.
At the time.
Oh, I got on top of the wave and rode it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I just wanted... we didn't talk about Cyclops. Did you understand whose side he was on and whether he was in on the plan all along or just changed his mind? Did it matter?
Didn't matter.
I mean, we've seen it before with Jaws.
Right.
Jaws is like the servant to many
but
masters,
you're right in the
but
sense
in different
that
movies, not like in the same movie.
Yeah.
Without really telling us that this guy's changed sides.
You're right in the sense that it feels like he's with Blofeld at the beginning of this movie.
But he is Blofeld. He's running Spectre.
Well, right.
As much as he's the human face of Spectre. He's like, in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the body that Krang is in. Right?
Right.
That's who he is. That dopey looking big guy.
Damn it. Oh, fuck.
I mean, he was certainly more like a visually arresting henchman than we've seen in the Daniel Craig. Although I like Elvis in Quantum of Solace too. Well,
what'd you think of, I mean, this is a tangent, but the giantness of Dave Bautista and Spectre?
Well, this is what I think. I think this series has never been able to do henchmen properly. Like, it's never really devoted enough attention to that. And this time they they still haven't solved the problem in like coming up with a Jaws or
Right.
Kit and Wint, or something that on that level where it's like becomes iconic and stays iconic. But you certainly won't forget how that guy looks.
Right.
You won't forget. You won't forget that giant bionic eye.
Or that haircut.
Yeah. I suppose the only section of the movie we didn't talk about was Cuba, but was that literally just a means to an end and to get some product placement for Blackwell rum? Like, that's how it read to me.
And
it's
Heineken.
so inconsequential. Apart from all the stuff that happens at the party, but you could have had.
I was
going to
say, like, all the stuff at the party is really fun, and I really liked the idea of, even though she's not in it much, but Ana de Armas. I love the idea of like she finished her training in 3 days, or that's what she says, and then goes on to prove to be invaluable and a badass. And James is just like, well, I hope we get to do this again sometime. I loved all of that.
It's weird. It's something I find really unsettling about people not being straightforward in like Bond movie. It's really weird when you don't know where everyone stands. It's not a nice feeling for me. And this is a kind of what I mean about like everyone has a secret agenda, and.
See, but I always thought it's a little weird in movies about spies. I always think it's weird that James Bond just often shows up without an alias and say, I'm James Bond.
It doesn't work as a spy story. Because you know where everyone stands.
Inspector, he gives him his gun and then says, I'm here to kill you.
Yeah.
Which will be difficult because I've given you my gun.
He says his name.
Right.
And what he's doing. To everyone, anyone who asks.
Right, exactly.
And I was just, I had a real problem.
So I like that these movies have at least a little smidgen of espionage.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that. Though the fact that these are not espionage stories, what I like about them, but I can, I get that. I didn't think they handled the idea of people being deceptive very well. So I breathed a sigh of relief when I thought that Matilda wasn't Bond's daughter. And then the fact that they never kind of like explained why she would lie about that. And why we had to.
What do you mean? Like that? Isn't that obvious?
Well, because
he kicked her to the curb.
Because of the blue.
That's why.
Yeah, but that to me is like that was the reason I enjoyed that moment. Was he said she's not yours. Is like it takes Bond down a peg, but it is hers. It is his kid.
Yeah, right.
Like. What? Don't do that unless you're going to go through with it. I think. I mean, I don't know. It's like clean. This movie lacks the kind of clean edges I like in Bond movies. I think that's a big thing. Like, I want to be transported from one scene to another. I don't want to feel like, okay, now I'm in the tuxedo. Fight. Now I'm out of the tuxedo. See you, Bond girl, and and like Moonraker's like that, and it's shit. But again, it's like all the time I was like, and again I had more respect for movies like GoldenEye, where I'm like, God, GoldenEye's really like changing the formula without you noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this movie is changing the formula and wants you to notice that it's changing the formula. And I'm surprised that
I don't know
Bond
that.
fans are on board with it.
I don't have that sense of it. To me, it's not. I want you to know we're changing the formula. It's we're doing something different for this last movie. And again, like I don't care because I don't think the movie cares. We're doing what we want with this one.
And Daniel Craig definitely doesn't care. He's been done with this franchise for a decade.
Well,
which is not to say he's not putting effort in, but I find it.
Yeah, because I would take exception to how much effort he has put in, because part of his agreement when in coming back to this one was, I'm not doing all the stunts, because he's had like surgery on both knees, shoulder surgery. He has hurt himself.
Oh,
and is
physical effort, yes, but
still in pain from the last movie. And part of it was his wife, Rachel Weisz, said, go ahead and do it, but under these circumstances, because I can't see you in that much pain anymore.
yeah.
Which is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, I don't know. I'd have to see it again to see what the ratio of practical to CGI was, but I did notice some CGI Daniel Craig's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I noticed one on the motorcycle.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a deep fake, right? That was a real...
I think it was just a stunt actor.
Okay. I thought he had a digital face, but okay. And the plane, I thought it was disappointing. CGI. The little biplane.
Oh, I thought it looked good.
It was like Transformer.
But I also liked that. I liked that they try to, even though they clearly Malik knows that they're there, but I like the idea of stealthily trying to get onto an island as opposed to just showing up at Blofeld's lair by Rolls Royce, because you're picked up at a train depot in the middle of a desert, where everybody's just kind of putting on gentlemanly patter.
Yeah. I'm fine with both versions. You either put the effort in, or you View to a Kill style. It's like you barely change your name. You're basically the same person.
Right.
I'm fine. I'm fine with both versions of that. Will you see it again? I think that's a big yes, right?
I mean, it's more
Doesn't sound
difficult.
Like you need to see it again as much as I do.
Well, like my first thought after I saw it was like, I would like to see that movie again, but it's logistically it's more difficult to go see movies in the theater now because you don't have day shows anymore. It's like there's a 4 o'clock and a 7 o'clock, and then they're done. And with other stuff coming out, and then I have to kind of gauge, because a lot of this stuff's I think every movie should be seen on a big screen, but because I don't have the time, and because there's no day shows except on weekends, there are some things where I think, okay, I'll watch it on HBO Max instead.
Yeah.
At home.
Well, I mean, October's a big franchise month.
Yeah. Halloween is coming out this Friday.
June. We've already had The Sopranos.
Right.
So, I mean, just as maybe my experience of October is clouding this, because it's like I didn't even leave my house to watch the Many Saints of Newark, and I think it was an entirely justified decision. And so I really wanted this to come through for me in a big way, and now I'm going into Halloween Kills with nothing,
apprehension.
With the real it's like, if this one doesn't deliver, how am I going to get to June? Or not the month June, the movie June,
right?
Which is not going to be good. I'm that was the one I was banking on not being good, but going and seeing and enjoying anyway. And now I think they all might be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Well, not that this isn't a piece of shit.
Come on,
it did not. It did not deliver the kind of movie I wanted to see. And maybe that's my problem, not the movies.
Because it delivered for me a completely different movie that I really loved.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're not...
I admire it for everything it does differently from other Bond movies.
I'm so happy that, you can you've been able to cut through the gloom. It's really if you would have had the same reaction as me, this would have been interminable, wouldn't it?
Well, it wouldn't have been 2 hours long, I'll tell you that much.
But I will. I will definitely. I will definitely see it again. I think. I don't know. I'm angry that the movie. I'm angry that the movie is making me do that, but I'll get over that. Like, it's like there were honestly so many minutes where what was going through my mind was, why are you making me think so hard about whether I like this or not? You know, go and see Tomorrow Never Dies. That's awful. Bye. You know, Casino Royale. This is pretty good. Like, it's so simple for me usually.
Right.
But I came out of this going, genuinely, and I have heard a little, you know, I know there are people who do feel that way because I've seen like Facebook posts which are just like that, you know, the emoji with the circle mouth and you know, that kind of thing. So
right.
It's definitely, I'm not the only person who's done that, but I do feel like I'm in a little, like, I feel like more people are like you where they were like, well, that's not what I was expecting, but I'll buy into it because that's what you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like fighting it on so many counts. If the cold open had worked better, like I said, like I got through most of Spectre without thinking this is horrible.
See, it's hard for me to understand how you did that.
It was not a good cold open, but it's sort of like, well, it's given me you know, what I need to go on, like if like a video game, you know, I've got what I need in my backpack, you know, to go on. And I didn't have that, nothing in I didn't even have a backpack when we got to the end of the cold open for this movie.
When we got to the end of this cold open, I was and and it's also like the audacity to
the cheek to start with like a traditional gun barrel, then do like a 60s style title sequence, but in the middle is like 2021 filmmaking. Yeah, I know. That's something you're saying. That's what you like about it. But to me, that's like barefaced cheek of like, you promise one thing, you deliver another, and then you promise it again, and you don't deliver again. It'll be definitely be interesting to see what it's like watching this movie without those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that will make a difference. Yeah.
All right.
Don't know what else to say, really.
That's it, I think.
Yes.
Well, you got to know where we lie, people. I'm a thumbs up. Tom is a thumb sideways.
Thumb sideways, yeah. No, literally that emoji.
Right. Well, for Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. I don't know. What's your next James Bond book club book?
It is Colonel Sun. The next month we're going to be doing Colonel Sun by Robert Markham, which is the first
fantastic
non-Ian Fleming James Bond book. Written by Robert Markham, who is a pseudonym for the author Kingsley Amis.
All right.
And it's a fascinating book, but I will tell you now, bit of a slog. I was grateful for this interruption, because it's a slog. There's a reason why Ian Fleming is the best at what he does.
Do you know who's joining you for that book yet?
I won't say that.
Or do you want to save it?
Yeah, I'll save that. I'll save the guess. I do know who it is, but that commits them. It gives them the inability to back out if they want to.
Okay, so fine.
I won't do that. I'll tell you how I feel about the movie, using a quote from the movie.
Go ahead.
Balmal. You remember that?
Say it again.
Balmal. When Matilda
Matilda
is given the penknife
Right.
cuts apple slices, which is a moment I actually really liked. He says, "How is it?" And she says, "Pas mal," French for not bad.
Yeah.
I think that's overall. I feel like pas mal, but like the French definition of pas mal, which is like, I have serious problems, but you'll get by on this. That was a great moment, though. That almost made the daughter storyline worthwhile for me. That scene.
All right, good.
It's exactly the sort of thing you get in a Fleming book. Him cutting the apple up with his penknife.
Yeah.
Because he shaves in the books. Just to tie it back to the books for the end, he shaves with a penknife. So, of course, he cuts apples with a penknife.
There you go. All right. Well, I'll let you take us out, Tom, for your book club.
Yeah. All there is left to say is the James Bond book club will return. And so will Everything sequel. Where are we?
Oh, yeah.
When this comes out, where will we be at? We've just finished Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Of all things.
Yeah.
We could not have timed that better.
Great, right?
Yeah, and we're moving into our special, and we're up to 100 episodes.
Yes, we are.
When this comes out, you'll be hearing around the same time. You'll be hearing our 100th episode. So that's a great milestone, and a great series to listen to before you watch and/or listen to this.
Exactly right.
Fabulous. We couldn't have planned this better. Even though I'm just delaying this because I haven't finished reading it because it's a bit of a slog.
All right. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, for Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. Stay tuned. The Everything Sequel podcast and James Bond Book Club will be back. Say goodbye, Tom.
Woo! Oh, I need to stop GarageBand.